All right. Well, Therion Baker, thanks for being willing to talk about your experience in Vietnam. I guess we could just start off by telling what branch of the military were you in, and what were you enlisted as?
I was in one branch was Army, and I was listed as infantry.
So, did you get to choose whether you were in infantry, or did
No.
they choose you for infantry?
They choose me for infantry.
Okay. Did you enlist yourself, or were you drafted?
I was drafted. Now, if I could have choose, if I would have choose to do an extra year, one more year, instead of doing two, I would have to do three. I would have to do three. So I choose just to do the two. So then they choose. They have the right to choose.
Okay. And you were drafted.
I was drafted. Yeah.
What year were you drafted?
In 1968, March.
68 in March?
March 12th, yeah.
And how old were you when you were drafted?
18.
18, so you're straight out of high school?
Right out of high school.
Whereabouts in the United States were you?
I was, at that time, originally from South Carolina, but at that time I was living in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I was drafted out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, out of the induction station, New Haven, out of the New Haven induction station.
What were your feelings when you found out that you were drafted?
I was somewhat surprised and still, optimistic that I wouldn't really qualify in their lottery. But evidently, that turned on me. I mean, they lost so much soldiers in Vietnam because that was coming out of the 1968 Tet Offensive. And they lost so many soldiers, so they was getting anyone they could have get. Yeah, they didn't care. They wanted numbers.
Did you have a lot of friends who were drafted as well, or were you one of the only few?
No, I had a lot of friends got drafted. Matter of fact, I had one classmate was drafted around the same time. Him and I meet up in Vietnam in leadership school. 1,000 miles away. And we were in leadership school together for 2 weeks.
At Vietnam?
In Vietnam, one of my classmates, yeah.
You ended up drafted. What military base did you end up going to? In the United States. I mean, obviously you had to get trained, right?
Right. I was inducted in where I was sworn in. I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And upon that, I stayed a week there, and then I was shipped to Fort Gordon, Georgia. That's where I took my basic training, and that was 8 weeks. And then upon completion basic training, I was sent home for 30 days leave. And then I had to report to Fort Ord, California for my advanced infantry training.
By that time, could you have asked to do something different, or did you want to do infantry by that time?
At that time, I didn't make my mind up to do infantry.
So how much time was it between you got the letter that you were drafted to you ending up in Vietnam?
About a year and a week, maybe.
Would you say, so you had quite a long time to learn, think, and feel about Vietnam.
Right.
And you landed in Vietnam. Where in Vietnam did you end up after that year of thinking, feeling, and trying to get your mind wrapped around it? Where did you end up in Vietnam?
Okay, well, when we flew in, the basic runway was in called Bien Hoa, Vietnam, and we flew into Bien Hoa. And
whereabouts in Vietnam, like compared to Saigon?
It's right out of Saigon. It's right out of Saigon, maybe 10 miles out of Saigon. Yeah.
Okay. Do you, in your mind, remember the first time you saw Vietnam? You got out of the plane.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your feelings and what that was like? Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the horriblest feelings, anyone could, experience. It was all like day and night. I remember it very well. You got off the plane, the heat took your breath because it was like 130 degrees. You're coming out air conditioned plane for 24 hours because it takes 24 hours to fly. You're on a plane flying for 24 hours. And we got there, and then when the plane landed, plane landed in a combat zone is not like a normal land. They're flying here up at high altitude above artillery, and then just as they get ready to land, they do one of those numbers. They drop vertically. They come down vertically, you know, like a hawk. They come down and then they slide. So it takes very experienced pilot to fly into a combat zone. And as soon as they landed, we got out the plane. The heat hit you in the face, and I mean it's 130-degree heat, and then there was an odor in the air. I mean, an odor that you could ask any Vietnam veteran about that odor. It was a funky smell in the air.
Was it because of the war or just Vietnam?
That we really don't know what it was, you know. But it was a foul odor in the air all the time. Could have been Vietnam. Could have been.
So when you walk out of the plane, are people yelling at you to get here, get there, or is it more of a calm kind of?
More of a calm, relaxed atmosphere because you're inside of a base rare zone. I mean, this is like a city, military. A secure city, rather. Once you're on the ground, you're inside. You got guards all the way around the perimeter, so it was secure once you got on the ground. The only thing you had to worry about was incoming rockets.
Could anything prepare you for what you were about to face?
Somewhat, but not totally. If I put it on a scale, I would say you maybe 40% prepared, but the other 60 was OJT. It was something you learned after you got there and started, you know, serving. A typical day for me as infantry, we got up in the morning, made breakfast, we saddle up, and we hunt the bushes, beat the bushes, looking for Vietnamese. Our mission was search and destroy. Yeah.
How did the climate play a role in combat?
The monsoon season will play a heck of a role, and they don't have two climate there, dry season and monsoon. It's dry, hot and dry for 6 months, and then it rains for 6 months. And doing monsoon is very hectic because it's you wet as an infantryman. You wet all the time. I mean, you drenched, you wet. You develop jungle rot.
Jungle rock?
Yeah, jungle rot.
Jungle rot, okay.
Yeah, jungle rot. Say for instance, you get like a scratch on your leg, then it gets infected. That's what they call a jungle rot. I have here on both legs. You can see all these spots here all the way down.
Okay.
You see, as a point man, you got to chop. You got to cut your way through with a machete. You hear me? You got them on both. You got them on both legs.
Okay.
And you got to cut your way through with a machete. And as you cut your way through with a machete, you got like a sharp, you know, end on from the slicing, and you walk right into that. I mean, you really don't feel it because when you're in a life and death situation, you don't feel pain. You become numb to pain. You become more alert to trying to stay alive than, you know, just a cut on your leg. I mean, you get cut every day, you know, but you really don't feel it. And then doing monsoon, that's when you get infected and develop, turns into light sore, jungle rot is called.
So you got to deal with 2 monsoon seasons, right? 68 you were there, 69 you were there.
Yeah.
And then you left in 70?
70, yeah.
Okay. Well, in that time period that you were there, what was your worst experience? Is there a worst day that you had in Vietnam?
I would say maybe the day I got hit.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the day I got hit. I was sitting in the mess hall, and just out of the blue, a rocket came in, hit near the mess hall, and it went off, explode. I knew something was wrong. I mean, I knew I felt the pressure because of the concussion. See, concussion is powerful, very powerful. Concussion will go right through your body and come in on one side and go out on the other side. And I wish I could see a picture of concussion, you know, how it rivet the body, you know. But what it does, it comes through the body, and all it is pressure. Pressure comes in the body, and it leaves the body, comes in on one side, and go out on the other side, and you have no control over it. And I mean, it moves organs and everything inside your body. And during that process, I got hit. I got hit 11 places, and I got up and ran, and I had both bone broken, both little bone broken, both of my legs. The little bone, one was up high, and the other was down around my ankle. The little bone. I had no control on my leg, but I would control your leg, you know, your feet movement. And I got up from that chair in the mess hall, and I ran. But when I got up, I felt pressure, and I hollered. And a voice came to me and said, "You're not dead yet, run." So I got up to run, but as I got up, each leg felt like they were 100 pounds. And just that quick, I guess they hit the nerve in there, the nerve that controlled the feeling. It hit that, and then I got hit, and then it cut an artery, but it cauterized it right away. It was so hot. And I ran maybe about 25 yards, and I collapsed. And when I collapsed, I gave up to die. And then medic came out and said, "Oh, Baker hit," he yelled out. I said, "Baker hit, so bring the kit." So he brought the kit. And as they came there, then I told them, "Take my boots off." I feel like my boots was going to blow off my feet. I told them, "Take my boots off," because I felt there's a term they call for it. You get this. Can't think I have a memory lapse right now. But I feel like I was going into shock. I felt myself going into shock. I told them to take my boots off, and they took the scissors and cut my boots off. And they cut my boots off, and that was one of the worst experiences I ever had. My feet still, it wasn't my boots no more, felt like it was going to blow up. My feet felt that way. And psychologically, it was overwhelming. I couldn't take it. So I broke a cold sweat just instantly. So then they had to give me morphine. That's when they shot me with morphine in both legs. And then after a few seconds, then I started, you know, leveling off. But if I wouldn't have got that morphine right away, I would have went into shock and probably would have cardiac. And then later that evening, when they were loading us on the plane, not on the plane, on the MAX Jeep. They call it the MAX Jeep. You know, the hospital woman, you stack a litter on top of the other. They load us on the Jeep, and they was carrying us to the aid station to aid us. One of the guys was in the med hall and was sitting next to me. He was saying, "Well, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." He only had 2 weeks left in country. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." His name was Jerry. And the next day I was laid up in the hospital in 93rd replacement in Long Binh, Vietnam. And our liaison officer came and gave me my Purple Heart and told me, he said, "Jerry didn't make it. 2 weeks left in country." And he was out of there. And that's one of the saddest times.
Why were you fighting in Vietnam, other than you were drafted? I
was drafted, and then the same as he were. After some of your buddies get killed, then you turn. Yeah, you turn to a survivalist and revenge. Both of them. Just like he did. You become brothers, and you protecting your brothers.
So when you left Japan, and when you left Vietnam, went to Japan, and then came back to the United States, how did you feel like you were received as a Vietnam vet?
Poorly, very poorly, because no one really cared about Vietnam veterans. As a matter of fact, when I came home, I was kind of embarrassed to say I was in Nam. Even though I came home, I was on crutches and you know, a wheelchair. I didn't talk about Vietnam. No one, a person who knew I've been there, asked me something. I would answer certain things, but the average person who know you've been there, the first thing they want to ask you, how many people you killed? Mm. And I would never tell them that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's all they wanted to know. Yeah, they didn't want to know how good to see you back home. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or good to see you made it back in one piece, or welcome home. You know, you a hero, which I don't consider myself a hero.
Why don't you consider yourself a hero?
Because I don't like to label myself. I did, you know, for my country, really, and my fellow brothers. Survival.
Did the war make you more proud to be an American?
Yes, definitely.
Did the war make you a better person?
Yes, it did. Yeah. How
did it make you a better person?
Be more patriotic. Yeah, be a more patriotic person. Yeah. That America is the best country there is, and I will defend it at any cost.
Yeah.
Thank you for your interview.
No, thank you. This is good stuff.